Hello?
You there?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's so much better now.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, there was a lot of echo. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to resend the new link, because this is a new link that I just created, to our people here. Just give me a minute. Okay, here it is. Okay, I'm just letting everyone know they should meet us here, and we'll be all set. Right now, in this very moment, we are live. And they don't have any viewers yet because we just went live, so they start popping in. Okay, let's give them a couple of minutes, and then I will formally start. Are you watching it right now, Alex?
Yes,
So,
I'm watching.
Meanwhile, okay, before we start, do you have anything? The thing is,
Yeah, I'm ready. I hope we don't get the avalanche of echo. Which
okay.
was great.
I hope so too. Let's see. Okay. We had, like I said, it's kind of weird because this has never happened in the past, so I'm kind of wondering what happened. Okay. Oh, wait. What's going on? Well, okay. We're okay. We're starting getting viewers here. So anyway, I think we should pretty much start where we left off. Again, we're going to do it all over again, probably, most likely. So Alex, again, thank you for for your patience, and thank your audience as well for your patience. So here's today's talk is going to be named "Bringing Soft Back into Software," which is kind of interesting. That's one of the first things that pulled my attention last night when I was having a conversation with Alex. Is why did you choose this particular name? And I think that regardless, it would be a winner, definitely. So in order to not waste any more time because of the glitches, I'm gonna let Alex do the introductions. Maybe Alex, I'll pass on the mic to you. Well, thank you for being here. Welcome to DojoLIVE. and the mic is all yours. So tell us a little bit about why bringing soft back into software, and also tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thanks, Carlos. I apologize again. We had glitches and we're off on a rocky start, but hopefully we'll have clear channels moving forward. I was really very, very excited when Carlos offered me this opportunity, and really this is something that I've been doing for the long time now, and it's getting better and better, but it's a big challenge because I've noticed throughout my career, many years working in software development, that each and every software project, if we were to start from ground zero, starts off on a really positive, upbeat note, and everything's flowing, everybody is excited, and it's very creative, and the team chemistry is just awesome. And quickly, depending on the case, but quickly we come down almost to a grinding halt, and this kind of initial softness and ease and pliability, malleability of the medium we're working on somehow hardens and starts fighting back. And it becomes a problem. It could be a demoralizing thing, and also it's a problem from the financial side of things, because if the project falls apart, then people lose their engagement on the project. And I've noticed this pattern repeating, which to me was symptomatic. So I kind of started thinking, why is this happening over and over again? There's got to be a reason, because if I go back to my initial idealistic approach to this career, is when I was young, I kind of thought that software should be the discipline and also the delivery that should be responsive to human needs, but at the same time considerate of human frailty. And all these things need to be taken into consideration, but the bottom line is I view software as a smart servant that is part of our lives, sitting next to us and assisting us in many chores and kind of repetitive activities, as well as becoming more and more sophisticated and acting as an expert on our side. This promise is a great thing, but in real life, we're seeing the rate of failure of many software projects being very concerning and almost alarming. And I always to me, always boils down to this fact of quickly hardening into something that becomes very difficult to work with, to maintain, to grow, scale, and however you want to call it. So, my focus is on a few things here. One is to describe the symptoms. Then once we are clear on the symptoms, to talk about causes. So it's almost like going to the doctor and you have certain symptoms and the doctor is trying to diagnose and come up with causes. What is causing these symptoms? Once the causes have been identified, then we need to talk about the prognosis. Is this illness curable or not? And because I think curable, we're finally going to talk about the cure. What do we have to do to avoid painting ourselves in the corner and getting to the point where we're saying, you know what, I don't think this is a stalemate. I don't think we can quickly progress as planned. So this is a very broad topic, and I don't want this to turn into academic kind of presentation. I would like to encourage our viewers at any point if they can jump in and steer the discussion in the direction that makes sense to them. Because in a way, talking about this, if you ask me to talk about that, would be similar to if you saying, let's say I'm a doctor and you're like, okay, now tell us everything about the medicine. It's such a huge field and discipline that we need to kind of constrain it. In this case, I will start with talking about symptoms. I think we already discussed a little bit, which is, when we are building a software product or a program or a platform, however, application, the idea is to address some business requirements. And the initial cut, let's say our first prototype, is always the fun part. Then if we launch, what we usually see is that this whets the business appetite. Once the business gets the first stab at it, then we are seeing the flurry of new requirements, and the appetite's growing. Like, okay, now we can do this. Can we do this and that? The problem is that sometimes we get to the hardening point where we're saying, yeah, that's a good idea, but I wouldn't advise you, because if we were to make so many quick changes, things will become defective, we'll use a lot of bugs. And so this kind of defeats the purpose, because our goal in life is to have some pliability. As the word software implies, there's the word soft in it. So it should be soft. It shouldn't be pushing. You shouldn't experience like hardening and like, okay, we now hit the wall and it is what it is. And oftentimes, in my experience, you can get to the point where you are actually advising the business not to touch anything, because things are very brittle. I call that crippleware. We get to a point where we are actually shipping crippleware, and sometimes we're saying, you know what, satisfy the onslaught of business requirements. Sometimes we gotta scrap this, and we gotta build from scratch, and that's a very, very disheartening. And this is sometimes giving a black eye to our industry, where people are becoming skeptical about the viability of actually pursuing, or hiring people on the project. So that's as far as I would like to say about symptoms, even though we can talk a lot more, and I'm pretty sure other people have different views and opinions, and maybe show some battle scars. But I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'd be interested to hear them. Otherwise, I want to talk a little bit about what's causing it. And again, this is just my opinion. This is coming from my limited experience in the field, but I bring it up because I'm noticing recurring pattern. Not something like anecdotally happened once and I want to now generalize, but I've been doing this for about 25 years and it's been fairly consistent. And there are two things. One thing, for example, that I'm noticing is there's complexity that enters the picture. Once we start small, things are still simple. You have few entities kicking around, and it's kind of easy to connect the dots and grow things. But rather quickly on the project, we start facing complexity. Things become complex. So many things going on, and we just can't keep everything in our head. And then we reach out to some crutches, drawing some diagrams or whatnot. So everybody recognizes that this, I call it incidental complexity, which somehow creeps into the picture, has to be tamed, because we think complexity is causing this hardening. It's causing this untenable position where you're saying, it's very hard now to keep the same pace of delivery because things have become rather complex. And to basically fight that, and now I'm talking not about solutions, but about causes. So even though it sounds like I'm talking about solutions, a lot of the times we go like, okay, so let's move away from that. Let's try to make sure things are not complex. And so when we think about what is the opposite of complex, we think something easy, something that will be easy to do. And we have this kind of innate or kind of almost built-in knee-jerk reaction. Okay, let's do things the easy way. But easy is not the opposite of complex. What is the opposite of complex is simple, not easy. And I find that a lot of times people conflate easy and simple and think it's one and the same thing. In reality, nothing could be farther from the truth. Easy is something most of the time. What's easy for me is something that I'm familiar with, something that I've been doing for a long time, and it's my second nature. And you ask me to do it, I can do it in my sleep because I've been doing it for years. So that's easy for me. Doesn't mean it's easy for you or somebody else on the team. So I would equate easy with subjective. It's a very relative thing. What's easy to somebody may be super hard for me because I'm not familiar. I've never done it before. And right there, we have a little bit of a problem. As opposed to focusing on simplicity, and simplicity is more objective. So what is simple for me is simple for anybody else because it's demonstrably simple and does not depend on the level of familiarity or skill set somebody brings to the table. So the additional problem, so basically, to fight complexity, the real way to do it is to focus on simplicity. But the problem is that simplicity is anything but easy. It takes a lot of focus, effort, and hard work to come up with a simple solution. And of course, under various duress and other constraints, we see that teams kind of fall back onto doing things the easy way. And doing things the easy way may look deceptively promising at first, but quickly it mushrooms in, this kind of easiness mushrooms into a very, very elaborate and heavyweight structure. And we're, again, find ourselves being weighed down by the complexity. So primarily, I think the causes of complexity is this need to get things done quickly and efficiently, and then we reach for whatever is close to hand, whatever is we're familiar with, hoping that this will just get everything done, but in reality, building ourselves into this kind of a quicksand situation. So that to me would be the primary cause of complexity and hardening. There are other causes, of course, and we can talk more technical causes, and I don't want to go too much into technical details. I would mention quickly that most of today's software development practices are based on the so-called object-oriented paradigm. So we're using object-oriented languages, we're building things in object-oriented fashion, but if we really look at how we're doing things, it's more accurate, I think, to say that we're doing class-oriented development because we are programming classes, and then we use those classes during runtime to instantiate objects, etc. So why is that a problem? Why do I think this is problematic or is causing incidental complexity? Classes are constructs that combine two aspects of the system. One aspect would be what the system is, basically the structure of this solution. Another aspect is what the system does, which would be the behavior. So class is a construct, an abstract entity, which combines these two. So why is that a problem? I mean, what's wrong with combining what something is with what something does? Typically, what something is, the structure of something, once defined, is fairly stable. It's not so volatile. In other words, it evolves at a fairly slow pace. It will change, of course, but not so often. However, what some of these constructs do, what the system does, is much more volatile. And here we're talking about all these requirements and business rules and logic that as the business is growing, they just keep coming at us. And this layer is very, very volatile. Now, combining these two, the stable, non-volatile structure with a very volatile, quick-moving behavioral layer is putting a lot of stress on the design. And somehow, with this class-oriented approach, it's a half-baked solution. It's kind of like mixing oil and water. And didn't prove in practice to be very efficient and productive. It did prove the ability to create a lot of incidental complexity. And so one of the ways, to expose the causes of this is to understand how detrimental it could be to combine two completely different beasts into one, like smashing it into one construct. Because if parts of the system are evolving at their own pace, which could be slow, other parts at their own pace, which could be fast. These two should not be combined, because when they get combined, they impact each other and they create a conflict. In other words, if we have a fast, quick evolving part of the system insisting, oh, I need to make all these changes, therefore the slow evolving part needs to pick up the pace, well, that's not fair to the slower part, and vice versa. If they're saying, no, you have to slow down because we cannot keep up this pace, that's not fair to the more volatile aspect. So I think it's better if these are kept separate, decoupled, isolated, and allowed to grow and evolve at their own pace, which will eliminate this kind of unnecessary conflict and kind of walking on eggshells and saying, oh, guys, we got to be careful, we have to slow down. It's really not fair to the way we are promising to the businesses, yeah, we will be definitely able to deliver solution for you. So, there's many other things we can talk about causes, but again, I want to see if there are any questions. I don't want to bog the discussion down in too many.
No, thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. Actually, I personally have a question that I would like to ask you. And by the way, I'd like to encourage the viewers to send us their questions in the Q&A prompt that's right there in the screen. You probably know how to do it, but it's just a matter of going to the lower left-hand side of the far channel and just click there on the link, and then you'll be able to interact with us. And we'll get your questions here, and we're going to share them. We'll read them out to Alex. Alex, and I'd like to ask you this particular question from the standpoint on us on the business side. You mentioned that hardened products prevent development teams from accommodating fast and unavoidable onslaught of new business requirements. Why is this?
Why are we experiencing a lot of fast-moving business requirements? Well, is that the question? You're breaking a little bit, so I couldn't hear clearly every.
Yeah. Okay. Let me repeat the question. You mentioned that hardened products prevent development teams from accommodating fast and I'm quoting you here, from fast and unavoidable onslaught of new business requirements. Now, why is this? Why? Could you give us a little insight on why you feel that this is true?
Well, yeah, actually, it's a very probing question, because I think it points at the fact that it's not like we have a business on one end, they know exactly what they want, and now all they want to do is hire some technical guys to go in and automate this, and Bob's your uncle. This is more of a learning process. It's a multidisciplinary activity. So we may have business people with their ideas and their plans engage high technology, and by that I mean mostly software, to assist and give them leg up and propel the business into a more competitive, more higher quality service. But as they engage, as the business people engage technical people in doing that, they learn a lot of things, and they are in the process of discovery themselves. They are not arrogant to assume we know it all and we just tell you X, Y, Z, unless you are talking about some, really specific, rigid, formal system. But in today's world of business and competitive kind of activities, you roll with the punches, and you actually are open to learning, and you're taking small steps, and with each step you evaluate, you get some feedback, you evaluate where you are at, and you want to turn on a dime, and you need technology to support you in that. And as you're progressing on your journey, new things, and you're like, wait a minute, we can do that. Okay, I want that. No, I want this. And it's a successful marriage like that is phenomenal if it's set properly, because now you're really firing on all 12 cylinders, and you can really propel the business, versus if you're saying, oh no, I would discourage you to think that way because our situation is very volatile, and you may just only ruin what you already have instead of gaining new momentum or gaining new capabilities. But I find that the businesses are very hungry for gaining new capabilities, for learning, conquering new territories, and taking advantage, leveraging whatever the hell is available. As you know, technology progresses like crazy, and it can actually inform the business, and it can say, look, you can now do this, and the other. You know, a classical example would be, social networks and all these other mashups and ways we can connect, anticipated ways, which all of a sudden puts you on a new level and gives you new capability. And 100%, anytime we are in this position, the businesses, yeah, we want that. Now the question is, can we really do it within the budget without saying, and at the same time, while we're doing it, are we sure we're not breaking something in the process? And that's where the need for software to remain soft and pliable is paramount, because if we are putting up barriers and saying, no, what we built so far works fine, but it's totally hardened and it's brittle, and I wouldn't suggest you try anything else, then we are shooting ourselves in the foot. We are not really this A team who is enabling the business, and we become a very sought after experts. So I don't know if that addresses your question the way I understood it, Carl.
Yeah, you certainly did, and which leads me to my next question. And it's just kind of interesting because I think that you call this a debilitating, weakening trap. Okay, so you were going to tell us about ways to avoid this trap. But my question to you would be, why do you call this a trap? Why is it a trap, and how can we either avoid it or step out of it if we get caught?
Well, maybe trap is too strong of a word, but I use that word because I've seen situations where people kind of charge ahead and build something that turns into a very rigid, brittle structure, and then when the business realize that, hey, this is not going anywhere, then they may people may lose their jobs. So in a way, it's a trap, because you this is the last thing you were expecting to see happen, and it is a double-edged sword, right? So also, you see businesses to be when they're wiggling and trying to get out of that situation, start throwing good money after bad money, and kind of panicking, right? So all these things are not very desirable, because they're not what we agreed initially, and they're not what we promised to see happen, which is, here we are, we have the skill set to give you the ability to leverage high tech and the latest in software, and now we start building something, but the idea was not to build something that's rigid, hard, and just cast in stone, but rather build you something that can grow, scale, put you on a new level, and give you the wings to grow your business. So that's why I'm calling it a trap, because now all of a sudden you can't go anywhere. You just either learn to live with, I call it crippleware, learn to live with crippleware, and somehow deal with this stalemate, or you get to the point where you're saying, you know what, we are trapped here.
What was that again, Alex? What did you call it? The crippleware, did you say?
Crippleware, yeah, because you're kind of fumbling with it. You're like, okay, it is what it is. You with it, and you're like, hey, but it's kind of debilitating, because you're stuck in because things move fast, and every now and then you deal with a business that's stuck somewhere in the 90s or 2000 with some crusty old software, and they cannot really take advantage of the new trends, right? Because it's whatever, vendor locking or whatever it is.
Kind of like would that apply to small talk as well?
Sorry, what?
Would that apply to, I mean, the reference you made to the 90s, to the 90s and 2000, early 2000 software, would that apply to Smalltalk or not really?
No. It's
because you went from Smalltalk, you switched to Java, C Sharp, and stuff, right?
No, I mean it's not about necessarily languages or particular technology. It's more about the products that have been developed using those tools.
Okay.
Usually the products are applications that are tailor-made for certain business requirements, and then these applications tend to harden into something that's very difficult to maintain or grow. And that's what I call a trap, right? So you are sitting here saying, I wish we could do this and that, but unfortunately, the way things are right now, it's very risky. And sometimes, you get to the point where you say, you know what, we need to cut our losses. We need to start from scratch, start all over again. And that's a very expensive proposition because you've already thrown a lot of money hoping to reach this nirvana where you're, kicking ass and you're just growing, and all of a sudden, like, oh, we can't go anywhere, and now we need to hire a new team or somebody. Sometimes it repeats several times over, and it's very disappointing, and people are upset about it, right? Understandably, and that's why my emphasis here is on we want to avoid this hardening. Basically, we want to make sure that whatever we do, we're going to maintain this softness, this ability to move things around quickly and in agile fashion without breaking anything, and also by breaking anything, also without breaking the bank, which would be super expensive to make changes. And that's basically what it is, right? Nothing to do necessarily with languages or technology, mostly with how we use those tools to build things.
Okay.
So you can't blame a hammer if your head is crooked.
Right.
I wish I was using a better hammer, but it's in the process. It depends on the process and the methodology and the overall skill set, etc. There's many factors that play into that situation.
Okay, got it. Hey, Alex, we're approaching the final part of the broadcast, and I'd like to take advantage of the following minutes to ask you, tell us a little bit about your how you ended up here doing what you're doing right now. Because first of all, I understand that you're working in the research and development department, the Staples subsidiary, A&I Media in Vancouver. So, what part of your experience drove you into getting involved in this particular endeavor?
Well, basically, I was always, as I tried to explain at the beginning, always curious, why are we kind of repeating this pattern, and what is causing the recurring issues where we are always seeing that many software development projects are kind of falling short of the expectation and the promise. And also at the same time, we are seeing definitely very dramatic progress in our industry. Things are getting better and are definitely not standing still. So to be able to work at that level, I realized that I need a lot of time devoted to constant research and development, staying on top of things, following what's going on, learning new technologies that are coming up. And many of these new ones are really kind of the sign of maturing of this industry and becoming a more predictable endeavor where we can focus more on delivering deterministic solutions rather than approximation or good enough, and then later on realize this is becoming a problem. The standards and the criteria for what constitutes quality product today has been is sharpening. In the old days, we were way more tolerant to kind of flaky software. Like I remember in the early days of Twitter, we had this phenomenon called fail whale. So you go to Twitter and you just see a picture of a big whale, which means, oh, Twitter is not available, it's down, try again later. And that was fine. And we were like, okay, well, I'll try in a couple of hours. Today, that's frowned upon. That is not okay anymore. So what that means is right now we are sharpening our standards. We're expecting better quality. And any service we're using, we're like, we can't tolerate, sluggish, being slow, being down, being incorrect. And this is adds additional pressure to development teams to make sure that the quality of the products we deliver is up to those standards. So you can't do that if all you're doing is just polishing your existing skill set, which you learn something in school and you'll learn a certain discipline and now you're working for years on something, but you must continue learning. You must continue keeping an eye on what's going on. There's new languages, new methodologies, new frameworks, etc., etc. One needs to try them all, keep in touch, and try and figure out what is the biggest bang for the buck here to stay marketable and to stay valuable to the businesses if we're offering services. You gotta be really on top of things. So this is why my focus still remains on research development, because I think it's vitally important to hone your skills and to stay on top, because the community is phenomenal. One of the reasons I like this profession is it's very innovative, it's very intellectually challenging, and there's never a dull moment, and things are getting better and better. And that's very optimistic, but it also means you need to spend a lot of time learning. The reality of the profession, right?
Okay, gotcha. Listen, Alex, finally, I think I mentioned this to you. We have in this office, we have this is one of the 3 offices that we have, and approaching, I think we're somewhere around the figure of 170, 180 developers. These guys are very talented. All of them are very talented. But they're all engineers. They're working hard, having fun. Okay, what I would like to ask, I'm telling you this because I would like to ask you, within the context of the topic, which is bringing software back into software, and considering that these guys are working as engineers for software as a service clients and consumer-facing sites. So what would you tell them? Say that if you were in front of them like right now, well, besides the ones that are watching you and will be watching you, what would you tell them based on your experience? Based on the topic, which is bringing software back into software, and considering that these guys are eager to learn and grow as professionals, what would you tell them?
Well, as I mentioned, I think the first thing I always like to bring up is the distinction between easy and simple. As I'm repeatedly finding that this gets conflated for whatever reason, and I was in the same boat until I learned otherwise. My knee-jerk response will always be, oh, okay, you want me to do this? Let me see if there is an easy way to do it. But then I learned that easy is actually what we call fool's gold. It looks very desirable at first, but later on it becomes something you regret doing. So, as software engineers and developers, we do have this built-in propensity to cut first and measure later. Unlike in other engineering activities where first there's measure twice, cut once. That's the sort of.
Alex, can you repeat the last 3 seconds, please? You broke up.
Yeah. So basically, we are in the business of software engineering, and my experience is a lot of people tend to cut first and then measure later. So just go and cut something and see later whether it fits. However, in the other areas of software, of engineering, there's a dictum which says, measure twice, cut once.
That's a good one. Measure twice,
cut once.
First,
you measure.
How do you do that? How do you do that? I mean, how do you measure once, twice, once?
So what I'm saying is it's important to suppress this urge to just go in, jump in, and start cutting, because we do have the chops, right? You have talented people who have phenomenal chops. They can write code, and it's something they're very proud of. But just because you have good chops doesn't mean you just jump in and start cutting code. You need to slow down. You need to first make sure that you measure everything, which means you need to have specifications. Once you have specifications, and these specifications are crisp and agreed upon and are clear, then you can use them to cut the actual code, right, with your amazing job. And that, I think, is one thing that bears repeating, is like measure twice, meaning get the specifications, review them again, confirm them with business people. Say, is this something you agree upon? Does it make sense to you? And once you get that agreement, you have now measured twice. Now you can go and the specifications, all the blueprint, to cut your code, to actually cut the product and ship. So that would avoid a lot of these problems we were talking about, where people go the easy way, cut a lot of code, end up with complexities that are very difficult to manage and turn into something hard and rigid. My first advice would be to focus more on planning and reviewing specifications.
Say again, please.
Focus on understanding and reviewing specifications.
Okay.
And then use specifications to build the actual tangible product.
Okay, I got that. Listen, absolutely. Well, guys, there you have it. Finally, Alex, I know you have a book on software development, and the book is called Artisan Software Development for the 21st Century. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the book, and I'll share with the audience here the link, and I'll make sure that everyone gets it here once we're done. So tell us, what is Artisan Software Development for the 21st Century?
So the word, I use the word, I mean, this is kind of a little bit frivolous, but oftentimes when you work in this arena and you meet various people, you hear there is a tendency to divide software developers into kind of three broad groups. There will be something that people sometimes refer as blue-collar software developers. Blue-collar will be people who, let's say, hackers. People hacking code, they have phenomenal chops, they're ninjas, and they're phenomenally smart, but they don't, necessarily follow any prescribed process. They just go and just cut code. These will be sometimes referred to as blue-collar developers, as opposed to white-collar, which would be people who, like, first of all, there's a methodology, there's a prescribed way of doing things, and certain discipline, and you're more like a blue-collar worker following prescribed practices. And then the third category will be academics. Academics would be people living in ivory tower and head in the cloud and no connection with everyday business world. They're just coming up with these mathematical theorems and computer science. And but now that we're in the 21st century and the software is becoming so ubiquitous, I'm also seeing this new category called artisan. So these will be people who have also engineering and crafts. A craft.
Can you repeat the last 2 seconds, please?
So in the 21st century, we're seeing the emergence of these fourth category of software developers who are craftsmen.
Okay, I see. Okay.
They craft code. They are very proud of these skills where you can both understand the methodology, the process, and also have the soft, and also understand the business. So now you're this craftsman who is quality product, almost like a boutique style, right? Where you go for something fancy and bulk, and you get served, and you get this really high quality, high end product. So I think it's important to talk about this craft, right? And in my book, I have a lot of, it's mostly hands-on book with a lot of code samples and step-by-step instruction on how to build something that wouldn't harden into something unmanageable, but would remain soft. So again, in a roundabout way, the book also talks about how to avoid hardening and how to bring soft back into software, even though it's not explicitly in the title.
Right, which brings us back to the topic, right? It's bring soft back into software. Gotcha. All right, Alex. Listen, we are about to close to wrap up, and guys, audience, there you have it. You have the link to Alex's book on Amazon. So please, by all means, go there and redeem your gift cards, your gift certificates. That's a good way to do it. And let's support the community and all the very, very talented people that make up this whole world of the software engineering, high-end software engineering. So Alex, I want to thank you for having agreed to be here at DojoLIVE, today's broadcast. And I hope to have you sometime soon. And let's just be in touch, you and I, and we're going to be sending our speakers some tokens of appreciation by FedEx. So just we're going to be sending you that soon. I'm not going to tell you what it is, so it's going to be a little surprise, but it's invisible. It's nothing that's going to be. I cannot email that to you. All right. So, Alex, again, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. And I want to thank the audience as well. And thank you for being in DojoLIVE today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to thank all the listeners, and hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. You have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.